So I think it's 7 o'clock now, so we'll make a start. Welcome to the Planning Committee of 22nd of October 2025. My name is Councillor Dee Martin. I'm chairing this evening. For the benefit of people watching here and online, the councillors, the committee are on either side of the room, and the officers that are supporting the committee are on either side of myself. We are now live with a short delay on YouTube.
Yes.
And so welcome to everyone who's listening to us online. Sorry, okay. And also just to let you know that when we do call people up to speak, those empty chairs at the opposite end of the room will be used for that. So without further ado, I'll go into the agenda. So the first item is apologies for absence and substitutions. We don't have any substitutions tonight. We do have apologies from Councillor Summers, who's going to be a little bit late. So he should be here for 7:30. Urgent matters, I'm not aware of any. Declarations of interest, anyone? No. Matters to be considered in private, again, I'm not aware of any. So we can turn next to the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on the 20th of August 2025. So can I just ask people to make, oh, Chris, brilliant, to let me know if they've got any issues on page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. Everything okay? Yeah, they are great. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Summers, thank you for getting here earlier than expected. Can I just check that you have no declaration of interest?
No.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so next item is the site visit attendance. So present on the site visit was myself, Councillor Mahmood, Councillor Hamidi, Councillor Gordon, Councillor Iqbal, Councillor Rice, Councillor Busuttil and Councillor Gallant. We had apologies from Councillor Coley, Councillor Shaw, Councillor Summers, Councillor Anand and Councillor Jassel. The next item, we go into the substantive meeting. We are going to take the items today in the order that they're on the agenda. We sometimes change it. So I'm going to hand over to the officer now to talk about our first item, with a modification in relation to the Castle Hotel.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. The application before you is for a consideration of deed of variation, which is to modify the Section 106 agreement, which is attached to planning permission with a reference, as you can see on the slide, was consented back in May 2023. Planning permission was granted for the demolition of the public house and redevelopment of the site to provide 32-storey and part 27-storey building comprising of 462 co-living units with associated amenity space and re-provision of the public house. And it was subject to a Section 106 agreement for various obligations that were secured. Site is located within the OPDC boundary. And I'll just take you through briefly the content of the report. The proposal seeks to vary the definitions within the Schedule 3, Part 3 of the Section 106 agreement, which relates to a viability review, and in particular, the late stage review. The applicant is seeking to submit a late stage review now, rather than as how it's drafted it, which is at 75% at occupation. This is because they have sought forward funding through investment to have a complete, to reach a practical completion to allow the building to be occupied. Without the funding, I think it would have been difficult to reach practical completion. So given the period of time of this funding, and together with in order, if the practical completion is reached, then therefore the occupation can commence. So between the time now and the 75%, in relatively a short period of time, the applicant is seeking to bring forward the late stage review to now. So with part of the planning permission, it was secured £13.1 million towards affordable housing. Payment in lieu was secured. 50% of it had been paid already, but the Section 106 is drafted secures 50% on occupation. So if the members were minded to grant the variation tonight, then it would mean that 50% of the remaining of the affordable housing payment could be paid now and realised. As a note, early stage review was also secure, but that was not triggered because development had commenced within time. The variation is required because Section 106 does not explicitly consider the forward funding arrangement as a sales value for the purpose of the gross development and the late stage review. So hence, the definition needs to be tweaked and added to allow for this to happen so that the late stage review can be carried out now. And then that triggers for the practical completion and the occupation of the development. So given the current economic circumstances and having this viability reviewed and getting advice from a consultant, officers consider that given the priority is for housing delivery and completion and occupation, that we can support the variation and allow for a mechanism within the Section 106 to support forward funding as part of the sales, and therefore thereby allowing a late stage review to be carried out. And so that is a recommendation in that to approve the modifications to the Schedule 3 of the Section 106 agreement. There is a further recommendation in that this type of application requires a 21-day notice, a public consultation notice, and that expires post committee date, which is today. So if an objection which contains material planning consideration is received, then we'll bring it back to committee. But the reason why it's been brought a bit earlier is to facilitate the delivery and completion of the development, thereby then allowing occupation. So that's another recommendation included. And a final recommendation is to allow officers' delegation to craft the wording with our legal officers to ensure that it's belt and braces and it's all legally sound in securing the forward funding and also the late stage review to happen now. That is the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So has anyone got any questions of the officer? We're all content. Oh, Councillor Anand.
Thank you for the presentation. Could you just confirm with this forward funding, when we're taking it forward, are we financially worse or better off with the situation? Is there any incentive for the developer to do it now rather than wait? Just clarification, please.
Thank you. So the forward funding is something that the applicant, the developer, will secure as part of an investor funding the development to reach a practical completion. I suppose the risk for the local authority is that currently the Section 106 is worded so that the late stage review takes place at 75% occupation, which is roughly the period when the rents and the rates kind of stabilise and in the developments mostly occupied. So I suppose it could be seen as the LPA is missing out on a bit, that potentially there may be a price inflation with the rates, etc. But given the short period of time between now, which is at practical completion and is ready for occupation, and at 75%, is a very short period of time. And also, if we don't facilitate this, it does mean that the occupation may not commence, or that we won't be able to receive the 50% affordable housing funding. So it's kind of on balance, given the current economic climate as well, but also to the priority being getting developments completed and get it out, get it occupied. And in particular, the co-living scheme is a housing scheme that we want to see and occupied within the borough. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Would any councillor like to debate this item in any way? Anything to discuss? If not, we can move directly to a vote. So all those in favour? Okay. Yep. Any against? And any abstentions? So that's carried unanimously. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is sort of our first really substantive item. And this is Mount Close. Just before I hand over to the officer, we do have speakers for this item. So what happens, we'll ask the officer to give their presentation, and then we'll invite the speakers up one at a time. Who is it? Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown, is it that's going to speak against the development? And for the development, is it Mr. Lamb? Okay, thank you. So we'll let you know to come up at the right moment, but just so you know, you get 3 minutes to speak. I'll give you a warning when you've got 30 seconds left, just so you can wrap up. But we'll do that shortly once we've heard from the officer. So is it yourself? Sorry, Chris.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. This application is for the phased development of Mount Close in Ealing. Mount Close is a 1950s residential estate comprising 40 homes across 6 blocks, outlined in red on the plan. It is located around 1 kilometre northwest of Ealing Broadway Station, which provides London Underground and Elizabeth Line services, as well as bus connections from Mount Avenue. The surrounding area is predominantly residential. The site is not within a conservation area, but lies within the setting of the Mount Park, Grange and White Ledges and Montpellier Park conservation areas. The proposal involves retaining 4 of the existing 6 blocks. Blocks 1 to 4 would be retained, and blocks 5 and 6 would be demolished, as shown on this slide. This approach would be more sustainable and achieve less carbon emissions than a complete demolition and new build approach would, strongly aligning with sustainability policies and objectives. The proposal would introduce 6 new residential blocks, blocks A to E, alongside the refurbishment of the retained blocks. In total, the scheme would deliver 138 net additional homes, together with the refurbishment and redevelopment of the existing 40 homes. All new homes would be built to rent, with 50% of new homes by habitable room provided as affordable homes at discount market rent, averaging 70% of market levels. The proposal also includes associated cycle and vehicle parking, landscaping and amenity space. This slide illustrates the proposed building heights. The tallest buildings, blocks A, B and E, reach up to 6 stories and are located near the prominent junction of Castlebar Road and Mount Avenue. Heights then step down towards the east of the site, responding sensitively to the lower scale context. Here you can see blocks A and B addressing the prominent corner of Castlebar Road and Mount Avenue. This image illustrates the vehicle entrance and Muse Street, which forms the main route through the estate. The visual also shows both the new and retained blocks, the new buildings in brick and the refurbished ones in render. 2 community squares are proposed at either end of the Muse Street, providing spaces for seating and activities such as table tennis. Shown here is the square located between blocks C and D. 2 communal gardens are also proposed at each end of the estate, providing areas for seating and play. The visual shown here is the garden between blocks E and 4. During the public consultation, 103 comments were received by the council's website, including 92 objections and 11 comments in support. Key matters raised in objections included included building height and scale, potential parking overspill, and pressure on local infrastructure. All matters are summarised and addressed in the officer's report. This plan illustrates the vehicle and refuse strategy. Delivery, servicing and refuse collection would take place on site, utilising 2 loading bays located to the west and east of the Mews Street. This diagram sets out the cycle and pedestrian routes. The main pedestrian entrance would be from Mount Avenue, with homes primarily accessed via the Mews Street. Cycle parking would be provided at ground floor level within secure internal stalls across blocks A to E. This slide shows the parking strategy. In total, there would be 29 parking spaces comprising 20 standard bays, 8 accessible bays, and 1 visitor bay. The majority of parking spaces would be for existing residents, with 4 accessible bays available for residents of the new homes. Occupants of the new homes would also be restricted from obtaining parking permits in any future controlled parking zone, and a £15,000 contribution has been secured towards a CPZ consultation. In summary, the proposal would make a significant contribution to housing supply, delivering 138 additional homes, including 65 affordable homes. The existing 40 homes on site would be refurbished and redeveloped to modern standards. There would be the provision of high quality landscaped areas and resident amenities. Over £1 million in Section 106 contributions would be reinvested into the local area and community by Ealing Council. After thorough consideration of the development plan and all material considerations, it is recommended that planning permission be granted subject to conditions and completion of Section 106 legal agreement. I also draw the committee's attention to the briefing note, which provides information on community involvement, additional representations received, and an additional condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So I'm now going to call Mr. Brown. Would like to come up? When you're ready. So if you press, do you know how to press the button? Yeah.
Is that okay? Fantastic. Thank you very much. So good evening, Chair and members of the committee. Whilst I recognise the need for affordable housing, I have serious concerns about the scale, density and cumulative impact of this proposal. I respectfully ask that the Council refuse the application on clear planning and policy grounds. At 178 units, including 138 net homes, this represents a significant overdevelopment of a site less than 1 hectare in size. 6-storey blocks are completely out of character with the surrounding 2 to 4-storey homes, breaching London Plan Policy D3, which requires respect for local context and form, and indeed Ealing's core strategy paper 1.1 bracket A, which seeks high quality development that is sensitive to its own setting. This concern is compounded by the already approved scheme at Queen's Wharton Lodge. Taken together, which is important, these 2 large projects will transform a quiet suburban area into a continuous construction zone for several years and permanently alter its character. Contrary to NPPF paragraph 135 brackets B, which calls for developments to be sympathetic to local character and indeed history. The site is directly alongside 2 conservation areas, Montpellier Park and Mount Park, and near indeed St Benedict's Abbey Church, a Grade 2 listed building. The bulk and massing of the new blocks would cause harm to the setting of these heritage assets in breach of Section 66 of the Listed Building and Conservation Areas Act. And contrary to NPPF paragraph 211, which also gives very great weight to their protection. There are also serious access and transport issues. The site's PTAL rating of 1B2 confirms very poor public transport links, yet this scheme proposes to be largely car-free without secure controlled parking zones. This risks overspill parking and congestion on neighbourhood streets, contrary to the London Plan Policy, which requires car-free schemes to be supported by appropriate transport, infrastructure and controls. In terms of residential quality, the applicant's own daylight and sunlight assessment admits that around 20% of homes fall below the BRE standards. And indeed, communal gardens fail to meet minimum light levels in early spring, breaching London's own plan policy. The removal of 5 mature trees, including 1 Category B tree, further reduces green space and biodiversity, contrary to relevant policies.
30 seconds.
Cumulatively, this proposal would deliver high density without question, but massively importantly, without the infrastructure, open space or design quality to support it. It would overshadow homes, increase parking stress, worsen air quality, and erode the suburban character that defines Mount Close and its surroundings. For all these reasons, overdevelopment, harm to heritage, poor access, loss of amenity, and environmental degradation, I urge the committee to refuse permission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can I now ask Mr. Lamb to come up to speak in favour of the development? So once again, once you're settled, we'll set the clock on, and you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, committee members. My name is Matthew Lamb, and I'm the Development Director at Dolphin Living. Dolphin Living is an affordable housing charity with a primary objective to support London's workers on modest incomes who cannot afford housing near their place of work. Our focus is on providing high quality, affordable homes to rent, ensuring that critical workers who keep London running, from taxi drivers to nurses, can continue to live in the city. The proposal for Mount Close represents one of Ealing's and indeed London's few developments committed to delivering 50% affordable housing. Over the past year, we have worked closely with existing residents of Mount Close, neighbouring communities, ward councillors, and the London Borough of Ealing to shape proposals for a renewed estate, one that responds to local needs and priorities. Working in partnership with planning officers, we have carefully balanced the retention and renewal of existing homes with the optimisation of the estate to maximise the delivery of new homes, including much needed affordable housing and significant public realm improvements. We appreciate that there have been some concerns raised regarding the proposals, but we remain committed, as we have done over the past year, to work closely with all local residents and community groups moving forward. Our residents are central to our work as a charity, and so I'd like to finish by reading some words on behalf of one of our Mount Close residents. I can't wait to see the estate get refurbished. Over the years, Dolphin have been carrying out repairs and maintenance, but it's clear more substantial improvements need to be made. Mount Close is my home, and Dolphin's plans will allow me to enjoy living on the estate for many more years in a more energy efficient and fully modernised home on a new, more secure estate with communal gardens for us all to enjoy. I've lived in West London all my life and have seen rents soar. If it wasn't for the discounted rent I pay with Dolphin Living, I would be priced out of an area that I've lived in for the past 30 years. Instead, I've been able to raise my 2 children at Mount Close, and so I'm pleased that Dolphin are bringing forward plans for more affordable homes to allow more people to stay living in the communities where they have made a home. These words are from Sally Howard, who's lived on the estate for over 3 decades. Finally, on behalf of Dolphin Living, I welcome the officer's recommendation to approve a planning application which represents a rare and important opportunity to deliver a high proportion of affordable homes in Ealing. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm now going to open it up for questions. Okay, I've got Councillor Summers. Yeah, I'll get you in a minute.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got 2 questions. One is about the public transport was mentioned. But am I not right in thinking that at least 2 buses go, right past this estate? The E10 and the E7, I'm probably 207, probably quite a few other buses. And the other thing was about the existing blocks and the residents, for example, the one that was mentioned, will they presumably will be decanted during the refurbishment?
Okay, Councillor Mahmood.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things quickly. The loss of trees, like objector raised that I think more than 5 trees will be losing by developing that one. And so could you just clarify on that, how many trees you will be losing that? And the second thing is, if you see the dense population on the very limited area, so in terms of BNG, so are we gaining BNG? I've seen the report is less than 4% or 4%. I'm not sure is that enough, what we said the standard last time. And the last thing, could you clarify the parking situation? Yeah. So at the end of the development, are we losing the existing capacity of the parking, or are we increasing the capacity? And how existing residents will mitigate in terms of parking pressure? Thank you.
Well, that was a few questions, so I'll go back to the officer now, Chris.
Thanks, Chair. In terms of Councillor Summers' question about the site being well connected to public transport, so there is a bus stop on Mount Avenue that provides a bus service to Ealing Broadway Station, which is a major transport hub. It's also within walking distance, the site, to Ealing Broadway Station. So it is considered the site is well connected to public transport. And in terms of the existing residents on the estate, they will be rehoused by Dolphin Living, the applicant, during the development of the estate. In terms of Councillor Mahmood's question about the loss of trees. So in total, 5 trees would be removed to accommodate the new development. But the most mature or the most substantial trees and the ones that have the most amenity value would be retained, especially the ones on the periphery of the site that adds a lot to the character of the area would be retained. The applicant is also going to plant 68 trees, also to offset that loss of trees. In terms of BNG, the applicant's unable to meet the 10% BNG requirement, but we have added a condition to the planning permission to ensure offsite credits are purchased to mitigate that. Interestingly, the site does have an urban greening factor score of 0.4, which is policy compliant. So the applicant has implemented measures such as green roofs, additional tree planting, vegetation to improve the greening of the site. It wouldn't be within the borough, but the applicant would purchase offsite credits to sort of offset not being able to achieve the BNG target. So it won't be in the borough, but it will go to initiatives across the country. And in terms of Councillor Mahmood's question about parking, there will be a reduction in car parking on the site, which is in line with the London plan that encourages a reduction in car parking and encourages schemes to be car-free or low car parking generally. The parking on site that's proposed as part of the development the majority of car parking spaces will be for existing residents. In terms of residents of the new flats, if a CPZ is adopted in future, they will be denied parking permits, and that's something we're securing in the Section 106.
Okay, Councillor Gallant.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just noting that the contributions have been secured for junction improvements, CPZ consultation, and active travel enhancements. Being a the local ward council, I'm very aware that Mount Avenue, Montpelier Avenue, and Eton Rise, those roads are heavily congested, particularly at school pick-up and drop-off times, and this might well be seen to be exacerbating that problem. So are there any concrete plans afoot to alleviate that problem? It's been brought up a lot. On the parking, yes, appreciated that if there was a CPZ, that new residents there wouldn't be allowed parking permits, but there is a little known premium parking permit in Ealing, which there is some confusion about whether that's whether people are actually allowed to buy that if they live in low car developments. It's expensive, but perhaps not too expensive for some of the potential residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I was going to ask what Councillor Sunners asked about the residents being decanted, so they have somewhere to live during the time of the building. I'm just wondering just how strong is that commitment? Is it a case of they'll be able to be rehoused for as long as it takes? My concern is that if, let's say, there was a problem with the new build with building control and we couldn't allow people to move back for a long time, because these things can take a long time, just making sure that they're not going to have to fend for themselves at any stage. Thank you.
I'm going to go back to the officer again. Anyone else want to speak in the next round? We've got Councillor Anand and Councillor Charlotte.
In terms of Councillor Gallant's question regarding transport contributions, so these contributions are to improve the highway network surrounding Mount Close. So the contributions would improve crossings, improve junctions, and improve cycle infrastructure. So the highway contributions will make the area safer in terms of highway safety. In terms of the parking permits you refer to, I'm not aware of them, but as stipulated in the report, future residents will be denied parking permits, and that will be secured in the Section 106. And in terms of Councillor Rice's question about rehousing of existing residents, the applicant has provided a decanting and phasing strategy which sets this out. So it'll be Dolphin Living's responsibility to ensure existing residents are appropriately housed during the redevelopment of their estate.
Take the next question from Councillor Anand.
Thank you. I just want to get clarification with the application is going through two phases, phase 1, phase 2. In the report, page 24, it says 65 affordable homes will be secured by DMR. Is that going to be, as we need these housing, these discounted market rent places, will that be phased in as well equally, or will we get that at the start? How is it? How does 65 be secured by the 106? What's the phasing of that? Thank you.
And Councillor Shaw.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just on the demolition statements and construction management of this site, I think residents and Mr. Brown has mentioned in his objection the cumulative impact with the site, particularly nearby, with this area. So what reassurance can officers give the committee tonight that those will be sort of looked at together, and reassure residents that it won't be to the detriment of two major developments? Obviously two major developments happening at the same time, it could be detrimental. And so what reassurance can you give us that there will be sort of a crossover of exactly how those will interact?
Chris, back to you.
In terms of Councillor Anand's question about how the affordable homes will be delivered across the two phases, so there will be affordable homes in each phase delivered. I can't say right, I don't have the information to hand whether the amount of affordable homes in each phase, but I can confirm after this meeting, but there will be affordable homes delivered in each phase. And then in terms of Councillor Jules' question regarding the impacts of demolition and construction works, we have added a demolition method statement and construction management plan conditions to the permission, which will be reviewed by consultees, including environmental health, highways, to ensure that impacts on residents are appropriately mitigated. But this impact is temporary, but it will be minimised through these conditions as much as possible.
Just going to say, just to add to the comments around the cumulative impacts. Obviously, each application needs to be considered as on its own individual merits, and there's been reference to a nearby development at Nile Lodge, which is underway in terms of implementing a consent. It is, it already has its consent in place, and I think we need to kind of separate those two issues. Obviously, the considerations in terms of impacts on residents, character, heritage, all of those things would be applicable in either scenario. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thanks, Alex. Oh, you've got another question? Sure.
Because of the nature of this development, it's retaining blocks as well as adding to some of them and building new blocks. And I will just refer to Nile Lodge because obviously there is an issue there about too much being demolished, more than was permitted in the first instance. Have you really thought that through and sort of second guessed that happening, and to make sure that won't happen during this development?
I'm sure I mean, it's a bit off-piste because it is a different development, Nile Lodge.
But I'm just anticipating what.
Well, it's okay. Because we're looking at Mount Close, we're not looking at Nile Lodge. It's not how applications work, though, I'm afraid. We're looking at Mount Close. I think we're just going to move on. So I'm opening it up for debate now. Would anyone like to take place in the debate? Got Councillor Gallant. Okay, Councillor Hand. So Councillor Gallant, you can start.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I mean, as ward councillors of the area, we've been apprised of this development for some time back, and have attended the consultations as well. And the developers made every effort to engage with questions from the public and been very responsive, and I much admire that. During it's been raised tonight about the decanting. Well, I don't like the word decanting, but it's there of residents while the development happens, and we asked that question a lot as well. We were given a very, very fulsome answer, and I'm satisfied that Dolphin has the land and the means and the desire to achieve that. We actually posed that question as a primary question. Now, I do have concerns, and we have raised them tonight. I'm not totally satisfied about the extra traffic that could be generated by residents in this building, especially given that those streets become very busy at certain times of day. You can deny people a residence parking permit, but you can't deny them vehicle ownership. And of course, there's going to be many more people living there, possibly having one or two extra cars, and they're going to be trying to park them in free parking zones further down the line or further north, and that could create a knock-on effect. So there is likely to be a pressure on the roads that are not in the CPZ, and frankly, I mean, one can expect that a CPZ will eventually be necessary in the roads that don't have them at the moment. Now, I had also, and listened to the objection tonight, I had first concerns about some of the height of the highest blocks, 6 stories, that are not necessarily in keeping with the architecture of the area, and I wrestled with that. But I really do think that Dolphin's made an effort to make this a pleasant place to live in. It's got openness, it's got greenery, it's got attraction, it's got amenity, and it's been, and you know, they've made a big effort to do that. And crucially, and absolutely crucially, it's 50% affordable housing right in the middle of Ealing. And if you want to build a community, you have to mix incomes, you have to mix people, and you have to have different kinds of people living there to make your dynamic community. And so thinking through the whole thing and, weighing up all the balances, I am minded very much to vote in favour of this development.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant. Councillor Anand?
Thank you, Chair. Following on Councillor Gallant's, the Dolphin have put a lot of effort, from what I can see, with the infrastructure and the sites. I can also see that we are getting £360,000 in education, £177,000 in sports, £85,000 in regeneration, 66 altogether, coming to, if this development did not go through, we would not get £1 million, over £1 million in section 106. I shall be very happy to support this application.
Councillor Mahmood?
Thank you, Chair. Following my colleagues here, I will not repeat what they have been said, but this scheme is build to rent scheme, and we should always welcome build to rent schemes. And I could see the 138 new additional homes and 50%, like around 65%, 65 unit affordable, and the major contribution, I think, is 70% off market rent, which we understand how much the residents are experiencing the high rent. So I think that development will bring more valuable stuff in terms of affordable, and 70% off market rent, 50% affordable homes. So I would be minded to support that application.
Councillor Summers?
Yeah, I'll be quite brief, but firstly, I wanted to applaud Councillor Gallant, because obviously as a ward councillor, he could quite easily have just sort of played the party political card and played, I've got an election coming up next year, I'm going to oppose this, but he's looked at the bigger picture, and he's realised the borough needs this extra affordable housing, and I applaud him for saying he's minded to support it. I am myself. I don't think 6 stories is, going to massively disfigure the area. I think it is obviously a slightly denser, but we need to do these sort of things to hit our housing targets and to create affordable housing, and not just in places like North Hall and South Hall, but in Ealing Broadway. Why shouldn't people have affordable rents in the centre of Ealing? So I applaud it.
Thank you. And Councillor Busuttil?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have to second what Councillor Summers said about Councillor Gallant. It's very difficult to sit on a committee where a planning application is within your ward. And I think Councillor Gallant has thought about it long and hard about this, and I applaud him for his comments that he made about the application, because some of the things about the application resonate with me highly. Now, I know it says 50% affordable. That is, in terms of habitable rooms, it's actually 47% affordable units. And Chair, and so does this committee too, that it's very rare to have applications come to this committee where you have that level of affordable units within an application. So for that, I think it's commendable too. 1.1 million in terms of S106 money is quite a hefty sum, and let's face it, the council needs that to improve the area too. 70% of market rent, that is again applaudable, particularly given in an area like Ealing Broadway where rents are fairly high, or one of the highest in the borough. As for the height, I mean, I was there Saturday, and I don't think that 6 stories would give a detrimental impact to the area, given that the area itself, there's a lot of land space, and in terms of this application, I think it utilises the space quite effectively. So on those points, Chair, I'm minded to vote for this application.
Thank you. And if there are no other contributions, should we move to the vote? So all those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? So that's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to move on now to our last item. I'll give a chance for people to leave, so don't make too much noise. So our last item tonight is the International Trading Estate on Trident Way. I'm just going to hand over to the officer to make the report.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members of the committee. This application before you seeks full planning permission for redevelopment of the International Trading Estate in Southall to deliver a major data center campus and new industrial floor space within a 13-hectare industrial site. The site is located on the edge of the borough, with the London Borough of Hounslow immediately to the south and southwest, and London Borough of Hillingdon to the west and northwest. The site is bounded by the railway line to the north, the Grand Union Canal to the west and south, and the Brent Road to the east. The proposal involves the demolition of all existing industrial buildings on the site and the construction of 4 data center units up to 37.4 meter in height, 3 new industrial campuses up to 15.5 meter in height, a central pavilion building, substations, car and cycle parking, internal roads, and soft landscaping and public realm improvements along the canal towpath. This figure here is showing the proposed master plan of the whole development, with the larger data center buildings located on the western side of the site and traditional industrial units on the east. This image, this arrow image here is showing the view onto the development from northeast of the site. And this image here is showing a view onto the proposed data center buildings from southwest of the site. Turning first to the principle of development, the site lies within a locally significant industrial site and social opportunity area, where both the London Plan and Ealing's emerging local plan seek the intensification of industrial land to support traditional and emerging industrial activities, including data centers. The proposal optimizes a large brownfield site, providing over 156,000 square meters of data center floor spaces and a further 21,000 square meters of flexible industrial floor spaces. Data centers are not recognized as critical national infrastructure, and the principle of data center development is considered acceptable in this location, especially given its proximity to some existing and recently approved data center applications in the surrounding area. Therefore, the site could benefit from more robust fiber connectivity and a growing pool of IT-related skilled labor in the area. This approach is also supported by the London Plan, which encouraged the clustering and agglomeration of economic activities to strengthen industrial capacity in London. The proposal will deliver significant economic and employment benefits, including up to 1,120 permanent jobs, 460 construction jobs per year, £14.6 million in annual business rate, 6.6 million financial contribution towards Ealing's data center skills and training strategy, and a further 750,000 contribution towards development a local economy management plan to support existing and future tenants on the site. The scheme would also provide equivalent of 5% approved net internal area as the football workspace, with returning tenants eligible to apply. These benefits are considered substantial and weigh strongly in favor of the development. This is the conceptual master plan just showing the proposed building height and how they relate to the surrounding area. This image here is showing a view onto the data center from southwest of the site along the canal towpath. And this figure here is showing a view onto the data center buildings from east within the site. On urban design, the scheme has evolved quite extensively through pre-application engagement with the GLA, TfL, Canal River Trust, and E-Link's design community review panels. The layout and massing has been carefully developed to respond to the site's canal setting, as you can see in the previously shown images. The 3 industrial campuses are each designed with a distinctive character and a varied material palette, reflecting the architectural language of the nearby residential properties while reinforcing their individual industrial characters. This figure here is showing the first plot A1, the Union Works industrial building next to the Brent Road entrance. And this figure here is showing plot B1, the boatyard next to the southern edge of the canal, as well as the proposed public realm along the canal. And this figure here is showing the proposed plot C1, the jam factory to the north along the Brent Road and the railway line. The proposal would also introduce a green link connecting Brent Road to the southern of the Grand Union Canal to open up the site to the public, creating new walking and cycling routes and 2 new public open spaces along the southern edge of the canal. This image here is showing the green link throughout the site. A pavilion building is proposed at the center of the site next to the green link. The building would serve as a lobby, cafe, and multi-purpose area open to both on-site workers and the public. And this image showing the proposed pavilion building at the heart of the development. In heritage terms, the development will be visible from parts of the canal side conservation area and the nearby Grade 2 listed Booth Bridge from south and west of the site. The upper image here is showing the current, showing a view showing an existing view onto the site from the Booth Bridge. And the image below is showing the proposed scale of the data center building, as well as the proposed soft landscaping and public realm along the canal towpath. And this image here is showing a view along the southern side of the canal onto the proposed development. As you can see, the data center buildings will largely be screened by the retaining trees along the canal side, and the proposed public realm on the side will partly open up the site to improve connection to the canal. And this image here, these 2 images here are showing views along the western side of the canal towpath. The data centers will be further set back from the boundary fence, and they will not be significantly taller than the retained landscaping along the boundary, or they will terminate the view of the canal in the longer range. This image here is showing a comparison of the existing and proposed building footprint, with the black dashed line indicating the proposed building footprint. Particularly if we move onto the corner of the site, you can see the proposed data center buildings be further set back than the existing buildings from the canal edge to the west and south. There will be a minimum separation distance over 21 meters to the west, and the farthest separation distance to the south be over 40 meters. The degree of harm on the designated heritage assets is considered less than substantial at the lower end of the spectrum, arising primarily from the building scale and the visibility in the background of the heritage assets. These harms have been carefully considered at the design stage and mitigated by the quality of the design, the extensive landscaping, and setback of the building from canal sites. Moving on to residential amenity, the nearest residential receptors comprise properties along Brent Road to the east and houseboats moored along the Grand Union Canal to the west and south. These sensitive receptors have been assessed in relation to potential impacts on daylight, sunlight, outlook, privacy, noise, and air quality in the Planning Committee report. The submitted environmental statement and supporting technical assessments demonstrate that the proposal will not give rise to unacceptable harm to residential amenity during either construction or operational stages. Additional mitigation measures for noise, dust, and lighting during construction has been secured by a construction management plan as a planning condition. On transport and access, the development to provide upgraded vehicle access from Trident Way and Rubastic Road, and a connected internal circulation route. A total of 315 car parking spaces are proposed. However, it is noted that there is currently no London Plan standard for car parking for data centers. It is understood for this application, the proposed level of car parking is to allow for staff arrivals and departures between shifts to support the continuous operation of the data centers. A car parking management plan has been secured as a planning condition to monitor the usage of the car parking spaces with scope to potentially reduce the parking level of car parking if there is no such high demand in the future. In addition, over 1.5 million contribution has been secured towards transport improvements, cycle routes improvements in the area, as well as canal towpath improvements. This image here is showing the newly designed Brent Road entrance, and will be delivered as part of this application. And this image here is showing a view onto the proposed plot C1 on the left, and the Rubastic Road entrance with the proposed small area of public realm and newly planted trees along the street. Lastly, turning to the environmental considerations, the environmental statement and independent technical reviews confirm that, subject to financial contribution, mitigations, and planning conditions, the development will not result in unacceptable environmental impacts in terms of flood risk, drainage, climate change, or air quality. For air quality, the development will include 218 diesel backup generators, which are required to ensure continuous power supply for the data centers in the event of a power outage. These generators will only operate during testing or emergency conditions, and they will require environmental permits from the Environment Agency to regulate emissions. In addition, a 3 million financial contribution has been secured towards implementation of sustainability initiatives and Ealing's Air Quality Action Plan. The site will also achieve a 79% of biodiversity net gain, an urban greening factor of 0.17, and includes 153 new trees and substantial ecological enhancement across this whole site. Furthermore, a commitment to connection to a district heat network has been secured in the legal agreement, and the applicant has agreed to safeguard up to 500 square meters of land within the site to deliver a future energy center to allow development of a district heat network in the Southall area. This table here is just summarizing the total package of Section 106 contributions have been secured as part of this application. So in planning balance, it is considered that the scheme represents substantial sustainable development as defined by the National Planning Policy Framework, delivering major economic, social, and environmental benefits that clearly outweigh the less than substantial harms identified on the nearby heritage assets. Accordingly, it is recommended that Planning Permission be granted, subject to completion of a Section 106 legal agreement, compliance to the planning conditions, and Stage 2 referral to the Mayor of London. Members are also advised to refer to the Planning Committee briefing notes for the further consultation comments received this morning from London Borough of Hillingdon. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Just make a quick note. Which hands up again, please? I don't want to jump on you, but if you want to start, Councillor Hamidi, because you're on the other side for everyone else.
Sure, why not? Thank you, Chair. I have two questions. One is on the National Grid's connection waiting list. I just want to know, obviously, I understand that the applicant probably wouldn't want to disclose information about where the connection will come from, but I just want to get assurance that this is either confirmed or reserved. So I just want to get that confirmation. And also in terms of how long is the whole development going to take, the construction of it? So the expected completion timeline on this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mahmood.
Thank you, Chair. The two questions, one clarification quickly. You said co-working or workspaces. Would that be affordable co-working workspaces or the normal workspaces? There's a lot difference on that. And the two questions is like Councillor Hamidi said, the power source or energy. So we just wanted to know more on that. Whatever power source they would be using, because this is the project for the future. So just wanted to make sure the clean or possibly nuclear energy. And third, the one clarification about that green link. Yeah, get my orientation right. Is that green link, pedestrian and cycle link, will connect it with the massive new development with the green quarters? Are they opening doors for the green quarters through that green link to that development? Thank you.
I'll let you answer some of those first.
Thank you, Councillor Hamidi. So just with regard to the power supply, the applicant has sourced power privately from the National Grid, and the need for that is because for a data centre you need a higher voltage line, and there will be two lines that go into the site, and it will go to the on-site substation, which is to the north of the site, and this would then reduce the power into smaller voltages, which is then used into the data center. And then within the data center there are a series of switch rooms which distribute power to the data halls. And just to make you aware, the data halls are within the data centers and they are stacked up in different stories. And the scheme would not impact local power pressures. This is because these are typically lower voltages. And as part of the application, we've had to ask for this information from the applicant, and so has the GLA. So we are aware of it.
Oh, yes. So just to answer the other question regarding the how long the development is expected to be completed. So currently the whole development is expected to last for 6 years in total. But as you can see on the, it's a quite major site, as you can see on this basing plan here. So the development actually be delivered in phases, with 2 of the data centers and the substations be delivered in phase 1A and 1B, and then the traditional industrial units to the north, and then phase 2 for another data center development, and lastly the remaining industrial areas as phase 3. So the whole project is going to last 6 years, but they're going to be delivered in phases, and the buildings are not going to be demolished in one go. So basically, part of the buildings be demolished fast, and some of the industrial units can be built for some of the existing tenants on site to return. And regarding for Councillor Mahmood's question regarding the affordable workspace, the affordable workspace, we have secured it as part of the Section 106 legal agreement. The applicant will provide equivalent of 5% approved net additional floor space as affordable workspace. There will be a mixture of on-site and off-site provision just because of the scale of the development. And at this stage, we don't know, which tenants are returning to the site. So we can't, the applicant can't determine, the exact quantum of the affordable workspaces to be delivered on site. But for the on-site delivery, they'll be at 80% discount of market rent. And for the off-site provision, it'll be a payment in lieu financial contribution to the council for us to, support delivery of affordable workspace in other parts of the borough. But it is possible for all of the affordable workspace to be delivered on site. Regarding the question for the Green Link, yes, it will be connected to the Green Quarter, to the north of the site. Once the circulation roads and has been completed for the Green Quarter, and the underpass under the railway line is open. So as you can see on this facing plan, so there will be a Green Link connecting the Brent Road through the Rubastic Road throughout the site to the southern edge of the canal towpath. So it will be connected to Green Quarter in the future. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Glenn.
Thank you, Chair. I do apologize, my questions on the power supply have been answered. Apologies if you've covered this, but what happens to the enormous amount of heat that's generated by the developments? And is there any noise emission from the developments?
Thank you. Councillor Anand.
Thank you, Chair. I have two clarifications. Firstly, the Canal and River Trust have actually mentioned improvement works for the Bulls Bridge. Can we get some more clarification? Will you be working quite closely with the River Trust to actually see what improvements they want? And will there be monitoring that improvements, and how will it be monitored? And secondly, the applicant has actually also mentioned something about crime on and off site. Can we actually have reassurances that there will be a strategy for that, and how will that be monitored again? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just for the first question regarding the wasted heat generated from the development. So basically, firstly, the wasted heat will be exported, to the proposed new traditional industrial units on the site. And in the Section 106 legal agreement, we have a head of terms just ensuring the on-site industrial units not to use only to use wasted heat from the data center, and no separate gas heating shall be provided. And also in the Section 106 legal agreement, we have a safeguarding obligation to enable supply of the wasted heat to be connected to a district heating network. And when one becomes available in the future, because currently our Ealing Council's sustainability team is working on some plans for a district heating network in the area. So the applicant is committed to connect to this network once it is completed. Just regarding the noise emissions, the applicant as part of the environmental assessment, the applicant has conducted a quite comprehensive noise assessment covering noise and vibration during both construction and operation stages, and these details have been fully assessed in the planning committee report, and during construction period is not expected the level of noise to exceed the British standard, the standards that set out in the British Standard Code of Practice for Noise and Vibration Control. And for operational noises, it will be also within the national standard, and we have a planning condition just to ensure further sound insulation of the noise from the buildings to comply with the council's planning guidance.
And then also with the data center, it would be cooled by liquid within a closed loop system. So that takes the heat from the components and then redistributes it around. And this is deemed to be a better way than doing it via air, which would have most likely air conditioning units, which would increase noise to the surrounding areas.
Yeah, just moving on to the next question regarding the comments from Canal River Trust. So there is a, if I just go back to the financial contribution table. So you see there's a 3,000 financial contribution towards Bruce Bridge improvement. This contribution is mainly to refurbish and cleaning the graffiti on the bridge. As part of the planning contribution, the transport contribution, the total transport contribution, the part of the contribution will also go towards improvements of the canal towpath along the canal side. And also, as for non-financial obligations, we have secured the management, because part of the soft landscaping that applicant is delivering along the canal towpath is actually outside the site boundary. So in the legal agreement, we have secured the ongoing maintenance of the proposed landscaping along the canal towpath that is outside the site boundary, just to make sure there's no flat tipping and the soft landscaping are always maintained in the future. That has been secured in the financial Section 106 legal agreement. And regarding the crime on the site, because data centers, they are highly secure developments, so there will be CCTV and very strict security mechanism along the canal towpath. So compared to the existing situation, actually the development to improve the reduce antisocial behavior and improve safety along the canal side. And also, as part of this development, we have consulted Metropolitan Police, and they have acknowledged that the proposal has potential to achieve a secure by design accreditation that has been secured by planning conditions. So they have to submit further information and engage with the Metropolitan Police in the future to achieve the secured by design accreditation. Yeah.
Thank you. So we've got Councillor Rice. Anyone else want to ask a question? Okay, so last question, Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Chair. So first of all, if I can just ask about the car parking, I think TfL have had their say. They think that there's too much car parking, basically. And I'm just wondering about the rationale behind that, having so many cars there, because there is a lot of traffic in the area. Does it actually seem like the most sensible way to try and get your employees in and out, and also the rationale behind there being 48 blue badge spaces? That does sound quite a lot, and I'm just wondering, is there any kind of thoughts that they might try to turn the blue badge spaces into ordinary car parking spaces at some stage? Is there some way we can make sure that they can't do that? And also my second question would be with regard the diesel backup generators. Now I know we've got a financial offsetting of 3 million going in, and I know the people of Southall often get quite concerned about kind of air quality issues, and I'm just wondering, how does that 3 million help the people of Southall in terms of their day-to-day air that they breathe? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll cover the car parking question. Probably Olivia can cover the air quality question. So for the car parking, there is in total 315 car parking spaces proposed, but as a result of the development, there will be a net reduction in the overall trip generations and especially car trips across the whole development. This is partially because the last trip generation created by the data center buildings. Regarding the level of car parking, for the data center building, the level of car parking is to ensure there will be adequate space to cover staff shifts to allow departure and arrival to the data center. So actually, not all of the 262 spaces proposed for the data center buildings will be used. These spaces are only to ensure departure and arrival of staff, and both of the staff can have a space to park. And actually, we do have a car parking management plan secured as part of the planning condition. The car parking management plan will request ongoing monitoring of the car parking spaces with the scope to reduce the level of car parking if there's no such a level of demand needed in the future, and they can potentially be changed to something else. For example, to remove some of the car parking and turn them into soft landscaping. That's the aim of the car parking management plan.
So just come back on that. So it does mean the blue badge spaces, would they just be protected as blue badge spaces? In that case, if they're insisting on having so many?
Yeah, because the blue badge parking space is a requirement of the London plan, so they will stay as blue badges.
And can I, just before you go on, my understanding is 24/7 operation, isn't it? Yes. On site, so public transport wouldn't always be available as well. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. And also just to support the public transport, because partially because of the site's low PTAR rating, we have consulted with the TfL and we have secured a over 60,000 contribution towards bus routes improvements in the local area.
I guess just on the point of air quality and diesel backup generators. So within the report, there are 4 conditions which relate to air quality, like condition 15, which relates to reducing emissions from demolition and construction, 29 with regard to a low emission strategy, and 42 for air quality neutral assessment for transport emissions, and condition 44, which is about the backup generator testing hours, and that's been capped at 16 hours per year. And with respect of that, the sustainability measures for the local area can include air purifiers in local schools, as well as in other public places, contributing towards the Get Southall moving momentum, as well as potentially improving the fleet air pollution of Ealing vehicles, some of which is still to be further discussed. And because the application has to go back to the GLA if successful tonight, we will be able to make you aware of what has actually been concluded and sought.
Thank you. I think that's the questions over. So I'm going to move now to the debate. Anyone like to speak in the debate? Yeah. Okay, so Councillor Anand.
Yes, I actually would start by welcoming this development. 193,000 square meters of cafe and amenity space, 22,000 square meters of various industrial spaces, 156,000 of data centers, £20 million of Section 106, affordable workspaces as well, and we're supporting the local businesses with the local residents to get some jobs in the area, and the infrastructure future development. So I really welcome this development.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Similarly, I think that this is a welcome development. It's a well thought out development that does regenerate an existing brownfield and formerly industrial site. Particularly note the biodiversity gain of just shy of 80%. and there's future planning there in terms of the district heat network that I know officers are looking at. So there's sort of thought for the future and what's going to be used, and this is very welcome infrastructure, bringing good opportunities for the borough and for residents in terms of employment.
Thank you. Councillor Mahmood?
Thank you, Chair. I think this is the one of the first data center we are considering in the borough, and I think that data center that would be bringing prosperity in the borough in terms of 400 new jobs and new access to the route and my favorite subject, Chair, as you know, that a net biodiversity gain, which is very high, and 150 new trees, which could be a great addition in terms of mitigating the nitrogen dioxide level. It could be better up. I think this is a very new area in terms of developing a data center and is a part of a digital infrastructure of the country. So we will be supporting that, but it's more things should be clear, like exactly you said, the waste heat could be reused. I am working other side of the borough where another data center of OPDC or wherever, they wanted to use the waste energy and feed back to the residential unit. So could be better used, but I think that is the proposal. If it is aligning with the district heat network, I'm not sure. So that is good. If not, so that could be very beneficial if you will use the data energy, waste energy, and feedback to the residential unit. So that could be the thinking for the future. So in terms of 400 new jobs and all these advantage to the borough, I'm happy to support that application, Chair.
Thank you. And I think we're probably ready to go to the votes. So all those in favour? Anyone against? And any abstentions? So that item is carried as well. And that concludes our business for tonight. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.